Hi, everyone. Welcome to Tuesday Tips. I'm Marin Smith, Director of Communications and Brand here at Grow Schools, and we're here on Tuesday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, talking about what school leaders are dealing with right now. And I've got Niki Blaker joining me again. Always great to have you, Niki.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and Niki helps schools in so many ways. One of the ways is things like SEO, design, consulting, website upgrades, all sorts of things. But today we're talking about something that many schools may not be as aware of, but it's critical for being found online, right, Nikki? So this idea of schema markup. So that sounds technical and maybe a little intimidating, but stick with us because this is about making sure that families can find your school when they're searching online. That's all it is. So I'm really excited to hear the tips that you have to share today. Let's start with the basics. What is schema markup, and why should schools care about it?
Yes, and it's always a mouthful to say schema markup. But
Yep.
and it's something that has come up mainly in the past year or so that's becoming more popular. Basically, schema markup is a little bit of code that you add to your website that helps search engines understand what your content means. So it's breaking the information of your website into chunks that Google and now AI engines can parse more quickly. So in the past, Google can scan your whole website, but schema tells it in exact terms. For instance, this is the name of your school, this is the grades you serve, this is our address. Without that, Google is crawling like all the content on your page, which takes longer and may be less accurate. So by adding this markup to your site, you're help populating the information exactly how you want it to appear in search results. Sometimes when you do a search result, you'll see that knowledge panel on the right that has information. So if someone Googles your school, that knowledge panel pulls from the schema markup and has the information exactly how you want it to appear. Same for the Google AI search overview. So you're basically telling it what that overview should say. So there's different types of schema markups, but for schools, you want to focus on what's called the school schema, which covers your basic identity and contact information, the event schema, which helps surface events, and then there's an overarching organization schema, which is more of a general business profile. And the reason why all this is important is because AI has changed how we search for things. In the past, we would do short keywords, but now we're seeing a lot of more long form questions. For instance, someone will type in, where is the best charter school that focuses on STEM focus? And the way that the AI tools are pulling the answers is by going through these chunks of information and pulling up those answers. So you want to make sure that's accurate.
Yeah, so more conversationally phrased, search things typed into the search bar, which is a really interesting development. So, how difficult then is it to actually implement schema markup? Like, does a school need a developer, or can someone on the marketing team handle this? Is this something a school secretary could potentially handle? Like, who does it, and how hard is it?
Yeah, it sounds intimidating because we say code, but it is easy to figure out, and there's a lot of tools online that help you. So if you're on WordPress, there are free plugins that let you add the code directly to your website, so you don't need a developer. Some of the SEO tools like Yoast and Rank Math have these features built in. You may have to get a pro version to have all the different bells and whistles that come with it, but it is available. Now, if you have a site that's more custom built, you may need to have a developer add it directly to the site code, but even then, it's not a big project. It's something that would require a few hours of work on their part, not like a big days or weeks project. As far as actually generating the code, there are lots of easy options. There are a lot of online schema generators that are free. So what you do is you answer the questions and it will output it in the format that you need. You can also use ChatGPT or Claude. You actually just ask, please generate, and the term which we'll make sure you have is please generate a JSON LD schema for my K to 12 school. And then you just describe your school, and then it will give you the code back that you need. Then the last step is to test it. And Google has a free tool called Google Rich Results Test. So once you have that output, you put that in the test, it will tell you if something is off or if there's a parameter that's not allowed to be there. So there is a little bit of a learning curve, but it's all things you can figure out online for free. So it's not
Yeah.
too bad.
Yeah. And kind of closing the circle by asking AI to help you make things findable
Yeah,
by AI.
for sure.
A
It will
great place
tell
to
you
start.
what is most optimized for itself.
Yeah, exactly. You mentioned school event and organization schema. Can you break down what each one of those does?
Yes, so when we're talking about this, the easiest way to think about it is you're basically creating outline points of things, and there are different categories. So there's a school category that all have parameters that apply to schools. So it will ask you things like, what is your school's name? What is your website? What is the URL where we can pull the logo? Who is the contact person? What is the address? What grades do you serve? So it populates those fields specifically for schools and tells Google this is a school. There's actually even a really great what they call parameters that's called the knows about field. So that's where you would say where your school's focus, like your school knows about STEM, arts integration, dual language, and so forth. So that's where that connection gets made. The organization schema is more of a general business profile. It's actually the parent of the school schema. So there you can have additional organizational information like year established, who's the CEO, things like that. So those are just basically additional fields that are bigger than the school. And then finally, you have an event schema that is can be really useful for enrollment season. It is about specific events, including the name of the event, the date, the location, whether it's in person or virtual. So you could potentially search, and then the actual event will come up in the search result with the details and registration link without going to your site.
Wow, that really does change things, doesn't it, about how people are finding things. So, if a school only has bandwidth to implement one or two schema markups, because you just mentioned several, what should they prioritize in your opinion and why?
Definitely the school. So at the very least, define all the properties of your school. That way, the most basic information, your address, grade served, and your focus areas are covered. Then, over time, as you have events, I would graduate into creating those event schema ones for every event that you have. And that will give you the most return on your event. So, just those two.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And the event schema you kind of already mentioned as being really, really useful for things like open houses, enrollment events. So, can you kind of describe again, from like a user's perspective, what it looks like when it shows up in the search results? Like, and how can I make sure that they're seeing what I want them to see?
Yeah, so once like if you put in your in the generator or the AI, it will tell you what parameters you need, and they're typically the start date and time, the location, the URL where you can get more information or register. You can also indicate whether it's virtual, and you can include the link for joining everything. The thing you have to be a little careful about is how it gets used. So Google wants a real event with a real date. So if you're talking about the open house that takes place on October 15th, that's perfect. But if you're saying open enrollment all season long, then that's not the way to use this. So it's specifically for an event that comes and goes. Google won't penalize you for it, but it will ignore it, and you don't want it to ignore one thing because then it might ignore other things. So you just want to be intentional about creating that event.
Yeah. Yeah, such great tips. And it sounds like, by implementing this, it's not complicated from what it sounds like or expensive. And it's something that a marketing team, somebody with a little bit of tech savviness can absolutely do. And if schools can start with the basics, they'll see a real impact from what I'm hearing. So thank you so much for demystifying this. Really important stuff for schools trying to show up in search, especially as we enter into sort of those last minute enrollments that might happen over summer. So thanks so much for being here, Niki, and sharing your expertise as always. If you want more tips from Niki about discoverability, digital strategy, websites, all those good things, you can head over to growschools.com. So thanks, Niki, for
Thanks
being here.
so much. Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll see you next time.